Hi, this is Carl the Cobra Frutch, and you're watching Lights Out.
The heavyweight division is arguably one of the most exciting divisions right now in boxing. A lot of people are talking about the future of the division, but right now, the division itself is ruled by one man and one man only. But are there a few more heavyweights out there that who are former champions? Are these the heavyweights that could potentially spoil Oleksandr Usyk's party? Also, a huge name in British boxing makes a transfer to another promoter that we never thought would happen, but it has happened, and that is why we love the sport of boxing. This is Faisal Khan for Lights Out, proudly sponsored by Spartans Law, and this is podcast 82 of the Lights Out Boxing podcast. Welcome back, people. Yes, we promised you more content, and yes, we promised you a weekly podcast, and so far we stuck to our promise. Myself and my right hand man, Mr. Mohsin Gulshir, aka Ron. Welcome back, brother. How you doing?
Yeah, good to be back. Thank you. Yeah, always a pleasure.
Pleasure's all ours. Before we get started, guys, if you haven't, why not hit that subscribe button and make sure you turn on the bell for more Lights Out boxing content. And if you want to stay a little bit more closer to Lights Out, social media links are below in the description. Take a look at our TikTok page, which has been firing as of late. We've got some exciting content, which we are bringing you on a daily basis. And if you're a lover of your audio platforms, well, this podcast is also available in the audio platforms, including the one and only Mr. Spotify. Ron, podcast 82, we're only 18 away from putting you in the limelight, putting all the focus on you, Ron. That number's slowly coming down, and I'm looking forward to seeing how you handle podcast number 100, which you are going to lead. And don't think I've forgotten about it, because if you know me as good as you say you do, you know I don't forget things. But one thing you do have the role of is our quick fire question. And guys, I just have to admit, I know nothing about this quick fire question. So I'm going into the lion's den here. So Ron, my dear friend, my good brother, fire away. Give me your quick fire question. Let's have some fun before we dive into today's podcast.
Got a long, hard think about this one. What are if you were training your fighter, so let's say you're a coach, what would be your favorite 3 punches that you would tell him to kind of work on?
That's a great question. I'm a
Like if you have
left-hander,
to
so I'm a southpaw.
prioritize, like, I mean, you can have it whatever you want. It could be a regular orthodox or southpaw, but if you had to pick 3 punches in order, you can start off with 3, 2, 1, or 1, 2, 3. I'll let you know.
Well, because I'm a southpaw, lefty, listen, the jab is the obvious punch. You got to stick with the jab. And I'm also a firm believer of chopping the tree down. So go to the body as much as you can. We're talking about heavyweight boxing today. We know our guy Oleksandr Usyk does not like being hit to the body. So I'm a big fan of a nice body punch. One of my favorite punches of all time has to be that Ricky Hatton body shot and Castillo, or what Amir Khan dropped Marcos Maidana with. So definitely the jab, the basic, the most important punch. Left to the body. And I love an uppercut. An uppercut is what really gets me going. I love a good uppercut. So it'd be the 3 punches I'd probably want to
In
focus
what
on.
order? What would be your number 1?
So jab, left to the body, duck, sort of like a Mike Tyson duck, then smack, bang, uppercut, straight to the face, lights out. What about you?
Okay, I think I'd have to agree. I think I can't remember who I was talking to. I mean, a few trainers, and they go, "Look, if you haven't got a good jab, you're not getting anywhere in boxing." But saying that, I mean, Roy Jones Jr. didn't have a great, he didn't have much of a jab. He had a very unorthodox style. I mean, that's if you look at your traditional boxers like the Usyks, like the Lomachenkos, and the it all starts off from a jab. So jab. I mean, when I think of jabs, I like Lennox Lewis. I think he had a brilliant jab. Larry Holmes is another one who had a really good, like thundering jab. To the body shots, I think Ricky Hatton, I think you put it there really well there. In terms of, I mean, you missed out on a hook. I think the
Yeah,
hooks are
hook as well.
going.
Hook,
Yeah, I mean Mike
haymaker.
Tyson, you used to get in really up and close and kind of use that to his advantage. The quick throwing hooks. You've got obviously your other shots as well, but yeah, I mean, for me, number one is definitely jab.
Well, we'd love to know what the viewers think, right, Ron? So get those comments in the comment section. What are your favorite three punches to build up a devastating knockout? It could be anything. I mean, there's a number of punches um, we've missed out on. One of those punches I'm pretty sure we wouldn't choose as a low blow or a rabbit punch. But anything can happen in the sport of boxing. As I mentioned in the introduction, right now we got a heavyweight king in Oleksandr Usyk, two-time undisputed heavyweight champion, has dethroned not just anybody in the division. He's absolutely dethroned all the British fighters from cruiserweight to heavyweight. He is the unstoppable force of nature right now. And you said something to me. You said something to me last week when we got together. You said that I just think the heavyweight division is slowly on the decline. I have to disagree with you on that. Now, I still think we've got some big fights to look forward to. I mean, we saw Shelley Finkel's interview with Box Nation today. Shout out to Box Nation. He spoke about some fights that he wants to see Deontay Wilder in. But the reason why I was focusing on the heavyweight division today is because I saw a face-off between two heavyweights that I'm not ready to go to sleep on yet. I saw Deontay Wilder and Andy Ruiz do a face-off together. And I looked at that and I thought to myself, that's a great fight. And the reason why I think that's a great fight is very simple. It's because we know Deontay Wilder's never been the same since Tyson Fury. And we know Andy Ruiz has never been the same since he lost his title to Anthony Joshua. But they are right now sleeping dogs. And I still think if Deontay Wilder gathered a bit of confidence, he can beat any heavyweight. He's got the power to knock anybody out. Andy Ruiz showed in 2019 against Anthony Joshua, he's a dangerous motherfucker. He's not one guy that you want to sleep on as well. Ron, where do you stand right now with the division, apart from Usyk and Fury, who for me are the top two? I know you said it's on the decline, but do you see any one of the top heavyweights right now sort of spoiling the party? And can you see any heavyweight right now that is capable of taking Oleksandr Usyk's place at the very top?
Honestly, not at this very moment in time. I mean, we've got a lot of kind of British heavyweight contingents. We've got obviously our very own Moses Itoma, who we hope will be there. I think there's a passing of the torch. I see, Moses Itoma taking over. We've got a lot of British heavyweights who are going to come through the scene. We'll see how Fabio Wardley does in his fight against Joseph Parker. But I'm going to focus on the two that you mentioned there. Deontay Wilder, last, 5 or 6 fights, he's got 4 defeats. 2 of them coming against Tyson Fury, Zhilei Zhang, Joseph Parker. So sadly, powerhouse as he was, I think he's a declining force. And, he had his comeback fight after quite some time against Tyrell Herndon, I think it was. He got a late 7th round stoppage. It was a low-key affair, but, it was probably good kind of seeing him back. But he's lost that kind of aura about him that he had, And the other fight you talked about is Andy Ruiz, who, yes, he was at the top of the mountain when he won those heavyweights and that shock decision was it the MSG that he won those titles?
When he stopped Joshua in 2019, yeah.
Big fat Mexican, he was only there to make up the numbers. It was a late replacement. He catapulted himself to the top of the top of the pile. He came so close in that fight against Joseph Parker. Contentious, it could have gone either way, that one. And I think some argue that maybe that was it. That was his peak, and he thought he'd made it. And that second fight, he came in looking heavier. You'd think he'd be hungrier, wanting to maintain that, or kind of showing the world that it wasn't a fluke. The problem with, since then he's been very inactive. He's hardly been in the ring. His most recent fight was against Big Baby Miller, Jarrell Miller, and what was it? It was a draw, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And since that was August 2024, and that's over a year he's been out of the ring. But to be fair, look, he's had a really bad hand injury, so that's kept him out of the ring. Do we know of any confirmation of dates or when that fight might take place, or?
Well, at the
Or
moment,
is that
it's
that's
just a
just
video.
rumors?
It was just a video, but I looked at that video and I thought to myself, if I'm looking after either one of those fighters and I know that they right now have to rebuild if they want to become a world champion again, they're not going to get any credit fighting, lower ranked opponents who have got more defeats than wins. I mean, I think the fight between Deontay Wilder's last fight with Terrell Herndon did him no favors. I think it was just a case of perhaps getting rid of a little bit of ring rust and just to get some sort of, motivation and some sort of, like a winning formula back, just to get a bit
Let's
of
ask with
confidence
Deontay
back.
Wilder. Who's his current coach at the moment?
I
I
can't,
mean,
I don't know. I mean, I know he's no longer with
he's
Malik
not with
Scott.
Malik Scott still, is he?
I don't know. I don't even think he had a new trainer confirmed for the fight with Terrell Herndon. But the reason
Mm,
why I think it's a good fight and I think it's a fight that,
mm,
the promoters need to make is because, as I said, Deontay Wilder gets no credibility for beating Terrell Herndon. I mean, just looking at the venue of the fight, it looked like a real small hall venue. Listen, take nothing away from the win from Deontay Wilder. A win's a win, and this is a guy, as you said, that has lost 4 of the last 6. However, the last 2 wins against Robert Helenius and Terrell Herndon, there's 2 defeats to Tyson Fury, which were devastating defeats. Even in fight 3, he gave a great showing of himself.
mm.
And the defeats against Park and Zhang, it just looked like a fighter that has lost that kryptonite in the right hand. And then you take, Andy Ruiz, who, as you said, shocked the world by not just beating Anthony Joshua, but he battered Anthony Joshua that night in MSG, and that's 6 years ago. So you can't sleep on these heavyweights. These are fighters that have been world champions before. These are fighters that have been in big fights, and these are fighters that have proven they can hang with the big boys. Now, we both know right now that the options for Oleksandr Usyk are very thin. I mean, I think right now the best 2 options for me, option number 1, next fight for him is the winner of Parker Wardley. Option number 2 is Moses Atauma. But the problem that I've got with Moses Atauma being an option for Oleksandr Usyk is I don't think he's got enough experience. And that's not me taking anything away from Moses Atauma. I think he's a great fighter. And I think he is the future of the division. However, it's a massive jump to go into your next fight to fight Oleksandr Usyk. I mean, it's a big ask. Joseph
Mm.
Parker, Fabio Wardley. I think the winner of that fight deserves a world title shot. But you've got to look at the bigger picture. We know the sport works in mysterious ways. We don't want just 1 or 2 options out there. We want 3 or 4 good challenges for Oleksandr Usyk. And I do genuinely believe Deontay Wilder, Andy Ruiz are 2 fighters. If they can get a bit of wins under the belt, if they can get a bit of motivation and they can become a bit more active, they can gain a bit more confidence, I still think have a small chance in this division. It's just a small chance, but it's a chance. Would you agree or would you disagree?
I don't know. I think Deontay Wilder, to be fair, is a fading force in the heavyweight division, but take nothing away. The knockout power that he had was
Ron,
real.
this is a heavyweight that defended his title 10 times. Regardless of what you think of the CV, he
Yeah,
still
look, there's a
defended
lot.
that
I
title
mean,
10
opposition
times.
was questioned. He was in some cracking fights. I remember me and you watching the Luis Ortiz fight together.
The first one,
Um,
brilliant fight.
yeah, brilliant fight, and it was end to end. I mean, he was outboxed, and then he's got that little haymaker, literally that haymaker that changed the game and rendered him unconscious. I remember on the splattered on the canvas. Um, I have my doubts. I think Deontay Wilder is towards 39 years of age. I have my doubts about Andy Ruiz Jr., who's 36. Um, hasn't really boxed in the last few years. If you look at his record since that Anthony Joshua second fight, I mean, if you look on BoxRec, he'd hardly fought. You mentioned that was 6 years ago in 2019. Since he won that title in MSG, and what has he done since then? Has he fought regularly enough? Is his hunger there? Is the desire there? There was question marks over his professionalism and taking it serious, and he had his moment. That was his moment. I doubt, he was kind of being considered as a potential opponent for Moses Atalma, from what I was reading. That someone would that I thought that would have been a good fight. And if he came through that Moses Atalma fight, you know what? Fair play, you've earned your title shot. You know, but at this very moment in time, I don't know.
You
I've got to
call
see
you call them fading forces, and that's obviously your opinion. You're entitled to it. I
what
call them sleeping giants. I still think one of them,
what are you basing? I mean, I get it, but
because
what are you
right
basing
now,
it on? I
Ron,
mean, like
I'm
sleeping
basing it
giants.
on the fact that these are experienced heavyweights. And look, we all speak about Moses Atama, and again, I agree with you. I think Moses Atama is phenomenal, but Moses Atama hasn't been to, one, we've not seen his chin tested. Number two,
Okay.
we've not seen him.
Let me ask you a question. Okay, you're calling them sleeping giants, but neither of these two make it in the top 10 heavyweights in the world.
Why
So,
not?
it's
Maybe not Wilder right now. Why not Andy Ruiz?
well, he hasn't fought for over a year,
He's had
and
a hand injury.
yeah, he has. But you've got to look at how often he's fought, and there's people who have overtaken him. I mean, if me and you did a top 10 list,
Right, okay. I'll reel you off some names, right? You tell me who wins, yeah? Okay.
okay,
Andy Ruiz versus Fabio Wardley. Who wins?
at this very moment in time, I would say Wardley because younger, you know, again, I'd like to say, yeah, I'd say
Okay.
probably Fabio Wardley. Gone.
Andy Ruiz, Derek Chisora. Who wins?
Oh, Del Boy.
It's
I'm
War
thinking that one.
Chisora. It's War, not
Yeah,
Del.
yeah,
It's War.
yeah. Del Boy. That's a bit of a throw up there. Chisora's got some good form, so I'll probably go with Chisora again.
Okay. Andy Ruiz, David Adelaide.
Probably Andy Ruiz.
Andy Ruiz, Fraser Clark.
Andy Ruiz.
Okay. So I just gave you what, 5, 6 fights, and half of them you had Ruiz winning, half
No,
of them
but
you had
then, I
Ruiz
mean,
losing. But
that you're
look,
just mentioning British
okay,
fighters
but
there. I
so
mean,
the reason why I'm a fan of the fight, Ron, is I'm not saying you're right and I'm wrong.
yeah, yeah, no,
We're
it's
having a
fine.
debate here, which is fine. Me and you would never fall out over a debate. We have plenty of them.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm saying is because right now, look, all the other heavyweights are tied up. Anthony Joshua, in my opinion, does not fight until February, March, maybe even going into summer. We don't know what's going on with Tyson Fury. Derek Chisora wants a big name for fight number 15, rightfully so. He deserves that. I just think these two right now, it makes sense for this fight to happen. The reason
Of
being is
course,
because
I'm
they're
not
not
taking anything
active,
away from it. It'd be a
and
good spectacle in the
like
US.
like I just said, Deontay Wilder gains no credibility for beating a low ranked fighter. Like the win against Terrell Herndon, it was just to keep active and just to gain a bit of confidence. But for his credibility, did it do much? No. Andy Ruiz, right? I mean, I know he suffered an injury in the fight against Big Baby Jerome Miller. We wouldn't. I don't know. I can't remember at what point he suffered that hand injury. It wasn't a good performance before he picked the injury up. So right now, if these two were to fight, and I know you said that they've not been active and they're fading forces. You still get a lot of credit if you win that fight, Ruiz Wilder. You do get credit because
Right, yeah.
they're
But
both former world champions. Can't deny the facts. Wilder defended that title 10 times, and Andy Ruiz. I've always said it, and I'll say it again. Anthony Joshua's not been the same fighter since he fought Ruiz the first time in 2019.
100%.
So
For a guy, his build, his size,
he's got
he's
some
got some
dirty power as well.
those hands, and we were talking about hooks there, man. The side of the head that Anthony Joshua definitely felt them, and yes, 100% he got found out in that fight. He had his chin checked, and then obviously, I mean, how many times was he dropped? 4 times in that fight.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it was a shootout that was, but
Right, so the title is Andy Ruiz versus Deontay Wilder. Do the fans want to see it? Hopefully, they're going to comment below in the comment section. Ron, as a fan, do you want to see it?
yeah. I think the American heavyweight division needs to have a spark again or something, or
I
something,
agree,
something
absolutely.
for them to look forward to. They've been really quiet over the last since Deontay Wilder lost that title. I mean, that's very unheard of. For me and you growing up, it was Americans that were leading the way, but obviously in other divisions they're dominating. But
Well, Ron, I mean,
heavyweight,
after the heavyweight division, the next American champion, you have to go to super middleweight, and that's Terence Crawford. So the
mm,
heavyweight, cruiserweight, light heavyweight, that's three divisions they've not got world champions in. And there was a time when the Americans were ruling the roost in the sport.
mm,
Do you know what I mean? So I agree where you're coming from. The Americans need to really light up the heavyweight division. I mean, we grew up with Tyson and Lewis and Bo, you know, and for the last 6, 7 years, we've seen Deontay Wilder sort of be the guy that's carrying the flag. But since Deontay Wilder, I mean, I know you had the likes of Jared Baby Anderson. You mentioned the Mexican kid Richard Torres, who's
yeah.
got a bit of
He's an up and coming kind of
But yeah,
fighter.
I agree with you. There's not much happening from the American
You've got
Mexican
Jared
side of the.
Anderson as well, we mentioned, but his kind of stardust has faded a little bit after losing against Martin Bakole.
Mhm.
He got stopped. Um, and I was really looking forward to that fight between the two big babies.
Yeah.
I thought that would have been a good one for him to come back from after his defeat. That is Jared Anderson. That is not the Jarrell Miller. Fortunately, that didn't happen.
The
You've got
the
Mike
likelihood of
Hunter.
this fight happening, Ron, it's not going to happen because we don't know what's going on with Andy Ruiz's injury. Deontay
Yeah,
Wilder, again, we don't know what's going on with him. But I would like to see it happen. But if it doesn't happen, they're still current active heavyweights. They are still, they've not retired or anything. What would you do differently with Ruiz and Wilder? I mean, I like what you mentioned. I like Atama versus Ruiz. Do you know what? I get a
oh,
bit of
that'd be
stick for
good.
this. I mean, if Wilder doesn't fight a Ruiz or an AJ, I think the Ngannou fight's a good fight for him. Two African
Oh yeah,
heavyweights,
100%.
and that's
That
a
would
complete
be a
shootout.
brilliant fight. Yeah. What's the other good fight? I mean, what's happening with Michael Hunter? Is he still running? Is he? What's happening? I think there was promotional. He was having problems with his promoter.
Mhm.
He's under Don King. I don't know what's going on there. I'm surprised if he's still rolling about.
Well, last time
Um,
Don King looked after a active heavyweight was Trevor Bryan, and then he come up against Daniel Dubois in that high
Dubois,
school
what
basketball
was it?
center. I mean, I don't
Leisure
know.
Center or something. It was very odd that one. And Daniel Dubois, someone didn't get paid or something. Or I just remember it was just a sham. But hopefully, to
You
get
never
them.
know. You never know with heavyweight boxing. I mean, I like the fight. I saw that clip and I thought, do you know what? If you want to really, really light some fire in these guys, you really want to get them believing again that they're capable of winning a world title, make that fight. Okay, fine. Was it a big fight 5 years ago? Is it a big fight now? No, it's way bigger 5 years ago. But like I said, these two they need confidence, they need wins, they need momentum, they need to be active. And looking at the ages, I mean, Wilder right now, 39 years of age, Andy Ruiz, 36 years of age. They're not getting any younger. I mean, between the two of them, they've had, over 70 fights. So, you know, time is not their best friend. But look, it's a great fight. I like it. Who knows what happens next? But we do know that one of the, well, I wouldn't even call it a saga, but there's been a big transfer in boxing today, Ron. We're not talking football now. Ben Whittaker has signed with Matchroom Boxing. Um, he's gone over to Eddie Hearn, Matchroom and DAZN. I look at this move and I think it's all down to the fact that he's not been active enough, and I just don't think Boxer have got the best out of him. Would you agree, or do you think it's just the right time and Eddie Hearn is going to be the guy that gets the best out of him?
I think so. I think he's boxer. I think I'm surprised he still has. They don't have enough shows. I mean, was it Frank Warren made a little dig at them the other day? Like, we'll only have to worry about them 4 times a year or something. One of those little digs. Boxers have obviously gone across to the BBC. I'm keen to see how that kind of comes across and how well that is received on the same night as who's fighting on that night.
Yes, it clashes with
Yes,
Parker Wardley on
Parker Woodley,
the
which I'm
zone, and then
surprised
on
they did
BBC
that.
you've got
But
Jamie
you know
TKV
what?
and
I
Fraser
thought,
Clark.
Yeah, well, and I think he's made the best. Obviously he came Cameron. Was it against
Liam
Cameron?
Cameron.
Yeah, and that was that controversial that how that first fight ended, and the second rematch. Obviously, he got his redemption. So maybe he felt the time was right for him to kind of move on from that, and he felt that maybe Boxer had taken him as far as they could. Um, they didn't have as many frequent shows, as I mentioned, as many shows. There's not much in that Boxer kind of stable of other fighters. The only other one I could think of is Adam Azim, and some obviously some other Olympic people have come back from good Olympics. Or so I hope Eddie Hearn can get the best out of him. If anyone knows how to promote, is Eddie Hearn, and he talks a good fight. He does that with all his fighters. So I hope he'll promote him the right way, get him the right fights, get him up the getting him challenging for what's benefit. What would you see? Where do you see Ben Whittaker
I mean,
in
it's
the
got to
next?
be British, European within the
Yeah,
next sort of
that.
year. I just think, Ron, I think that there was talks of a fight with Callum Simpson. I remember when
That'd
he
be a good
signed
fight.
with,
Yeah.
I remember when he signed with Boxer, there was talks of, perhaps elevating him a lot sooner in his career, not really waiting around. I just think he's looked at what's going on and he's thought, well, apart from two fights with Liam Cameron, I
Yeah, I think that's
haven't
it.
really, I haven't been in the spotlight as much as I want because let's be honest with you, the kid's a superstar. The kid is,
Yeah,
he wants the attention. He wants to
yeah.
be the main focus of everything. And I thought he's just looked at the current journey that Boxer are on. They've not been active. I know they've just signed a new deal with the BBC, and I think he's just thought to himself, nah, this isn't for me. This isn't working. Yeah, Eddie Hearn, he's he's been in the game a long time. He knows how to promote a great British fighter. Look
Mm.
at what he's done with Anthony Joshua. You look at, what he's done with a lot of these British fighters. And I just believe Eddie Hearn, the zone will take the kid to another level. There's nothing against Boxer. I mean, I know obviously the promotional deal ended with Sky, and it's taken a bit of time for the next chapter to begin with the BBC. However, I just feel as if that this kid right now is sort of at the peak of his career. You know, strike whilst the iron's hot, and I think this is a deal that me personally, I've seen it happening for quite a while. I knew this was going to happen. And I'm excited, man. And I don't think there'll be any of these 50-50, these walk in the parks. I think maybe one sort of, shake off a bit of ring rust fight. And then, you can perhaps look at a Joshua Boatsi. You can look at maybe a Lyndon Arthur. You can start looking up and up the division because I think within a year's time, this kid's got to be fighting the big names, especially the
Be a good
British
fight.
fighters.
I tell you a good fight that I would make is with Dan Aziz.
Good
Dan
fight.
Aziz
I like that
obviously
fight.
came, he's just come through his that Nigeria undercard. I don't know if you followed that much.
I
It's
did,
quite
yeah.
interesting. I've heard a lot of mixed reviews. I mean, I didn't watch. I only saw highlights of a few fights, but I've been hearing all sorts about what people what their experience was of that Nigeria. Anyway, but the Dan Aziz fight for me makes sense.
I'm a fan of the Callum Simpson fight. I think it's a great fight. I think
Yeah, no,
Callum
that's
Simpson's
got news
spoken
in it
about
as
that
well.
fight. There's a bit of
Yeah,
spice to that as well.
yeah, definitely.
Ron, before we end the podcast,
Mm.
I'll ask you one more question. This time next year, where will Ben Whittaker be in his career?
I'd like to think he'd be European champion. I think, maybe uh, competing at a higher level. I mean, he's been kind of competing at what British level at the moment. There was, I mean, we know Mike Stevenson. I think there was some point. He's a
Our
good
boy
friend of
Mike
ours.
Stevenson, yeah.
Yeah, lovely guy. Wish hope he's well. They were rumored to be fighting. I mean, obviously, Mike Stevenson is at British level area. Is it area title?
Yeah.
Or yeah, so he's at that level. I mean, Ben Whittaker's had that fanfare, or I'd like to. He's a special talent, of course. Watching him in the ring, his moves, a bit of Nazim Hamed esque. So I'd like to see some of his talents being on that big stage, getting those big fights. Let's see what he's like up against a really good operator. He's had his critics, from his last two fights against obviously Cameron and he's got his redemption, move on, and hopefully the next fight he gets with Eddie Hearn isn't that step in that sort of direction. But there's a lot of kind of British level fighters that you can have, but that are operating at a higher level. Cam Simpson, you mentioned. You've got the Joshua Boatsi, who's coming off a loss as well himself. You've got Dan Aziz, who I mentioned. You've got Lyndon Arthur. There you go. You've got plenty of British fighters, and they are maybe European level or higher, I would say. Touching that world level potentially.
Well, these are fights we all want to see. And hopefully, as time goes on, these are fights that we are going to see. Because, we got Matchroom and Queensbury working together now. We've got His Excellency involved as well. And he doesn't like, these one-sided fights. He only wants 50-50 fights. And guys, we want to know what you guys think as well. So please make sure you get your comments in the comment section. Let us know where you think Ben Whittaker will be this time next year. Let us know what you think of a potential fight between Andy Ruiz and Deontay Wilder, true heavyweight clash that would be. Let us know who you think the man is to dethrone Oleksandr Usyk, but more importantly, let us know what you think of today's podcast. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that sub button, follow us on all the socials, and just keep on showing the support. We thank you very much for your continued support. Ron, anything else you want to add, mate, before I get rid of you?
Prediction for the weekend's fight? We've got, was it Dave Allen versus Makhmudov?
Dave Allen. Dave Allen knocks him out.
Knocks him out.
Yep, and we will talk about that fight in our next podcast. Give us your prediction quickly.
I'd like to think Dave Allen, the new and improved 2.0. I've been watching a lot of little trailers about him, and so I'm going for a Dave Allen win by points.
And we will be touching on that fight in podcast number 83. But guys, that's all we've got time for today. So thank you very much for your time. And once again, this podcast is available on all the social media platforms, and it's also available on all the audio platforms. A massive thank you once again to our sponsors, the one and only Spartans Law. Ron, appreciate your time, brother. See you for podcast 83. Guys, thank you for your time, and thank you for showing support and listening to podcast 82 of the Lights Out Boxing podcast.